Hi guys, it's Jess and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be answering 20 bookish questions. I've seen a few of these videos recently and I've just wanted to have a go myself. It sounds like a lot of fun. So grab yourself a cup of tea because I feel like this video might be a teeny bit long. We'll try not to talk too much, but you guys know how I like to ramble. And without further ado, let's jump straight into the questions. So I've decided to switch it up a little bit, and instead of reading from a list of questions, I've put all of the questions into this cup, whatever. We're just going to pull them out at random until I've answered all of them. So the first question is, your least favourite book? So we're starting this video on a negative, great. My least favourite book. There aren't many books that I absolutely hate, but one of the books that I really don't like is The Time Traveller's Wife. I really don't like that book. I know a lot of people love it. It was just really dull for me, and it was very repetitive. And I just didn't think the writing was that great. Alright, so the next question is a book you can always reread. So I'm going to sound like a broken record here, guys, but that is Dracula by Bram Stoker. One of my favourite books of all time, if not my favourite book of all time. I can reread that book pretty much anytime I want, but I like to save it for October, spooky season, because that's the best time to read it. But I've read that book so many times, I can't even count how many times I've read it. A book you're currently reading. So I am currently reading Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown, and I am also currently reading The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I'm doing that for a read along with some people on Instagram. Go. Favourite author. So my favourite author is Matt Haig. I've talked about his books quite a lot on my channel in the last few months, but of all the books that I have read, I just really like his books the most. I think he has a very good niche in the sense that he is very good at taking a real life situation and putting a fantasy or sci-fi or magical realism kind of twist on it, and it makes the story that much more meaningful. He has written 3 of my all-time favourite books now, so he has to be one of my favourite authors. And I also think that Angie Thomas is one of my favourite authors at the moment, and I've only read 2 of her books, but I've loved them both. And she is just incredible. So there we go. Alright, next question is bookmarks or dog ears? I am a dog ear person. I use bookmarks the majority of the time, but if I don't have a bookmark on hand, I will dog ear the page. I'm sorry guys, I'm terrible. I treat my books really badly. I will admit this here and now. I will just use anything as a bookmark, and I like to dog ear. I'm sorry. Alright, next question is hardback or paperback? I like both. I like hardbacks because of their durability, but I also like hardbacks because they always look really cool. They always have really cool covers and really cool spines, and they look great on my shelf in general. But I like paperbacks because they're easier to hold. I like floppy paperbacks, you know, the paperbacks that just kind of flop about when you do that with them. I love that because they're so easy to hold in your hand, and you can literally just put them on a table and you don't have to like crack the spine and things like that. So I like both, but I would probably lean more towards I don't actually know. No, I would lean more towards paperbacks because they are just more practical and they don't make my hand ache so much. That's such a hard question to answer though. Like, I like both. Okay, here we go. A book you dislike that everyone else seems to love. So I mentioned The Time Traveller's Wife is probably my least favourite book. And that book has such high praise. It's really popular and I don't understand why. Also 50 Shades of Grey, because I read that when that came out and I didn't really see the appeal. I mean, I was quite young. I was like in my mid-teens, I think, when that book came out. Probably late teens, actually. And I know lots of old, horny women were reading it and absolutely loving it, but don't see the appeal. How many books is too many books in a series? Depends on the series. If I'm really liking the series, if I'm absolutely loving it, then I don't think there is such a thing as too many books. If I don't like the series, then... No, I mean, I think 3 is quite a good number to have in a series. I think you can tell a story quite well in a trilogy. Yeah, it just depends on the series, but I think with some writers, when they write series, their writing does deteriorate over time if, you know, it gets past a certain number, say like 3 or 4. But I don't know, I don't read a lot of series, so I'm probably not the best person to answer this question. Let me know in the comments what you think, because I'd be quite interested to know actually. Alright, what's the next question? How do you feel about cliffhangers? It depends on the cliffhanger. No, I've read a few books that have ended on really amazing cliffhangers. That I've just had to kind of read the next book in the series to just know what happens straight away. But I have had books with cliffhangers that have made me very angry and wish I'd never read it. But generally I quite like cliffhangers because they do make me feel a lot of things and they do kind of make me want to pick up the next book, or read the next chapter. John Mars is very good at doing that actually. I read The Passengers recently and he leaves every chapter on a cliffhanger, so much to the point that you can't put the book down because you have to know what happens next, and I love that. I think it's great. I think if you can write cliffhangers really well, then put them in all of your books. Favourite book? Dracula, obviously. How many times do I have to say this? Dracula is my favourite book. Oldest book you've read by publication date. So I think it's Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I think that is the oldest book I've read. It came out in the 1830s, I believe. I might be wrong. I will double check that. But I know that book came out before Dracula and it was in the early to mid 1800s. I don't think I've read a book older than that, unless you count the Bible. Yeah. The most recent book you just couldn't finish. So I talked about this in my January wrap-up video, which I will link up there. It's that side, isn't it? That is Hot Milk by Deborah Levy. I just couldn't get into that book. I read about 80 pages and then I had to put it away because it was just not what I hoped it would be. It's literary fiction and I don't read literary fiction that much. It's not a genre I particularly go to. And the characters just talked in riddles. And I was really confused for a lot of it. So I wouldn't encourage you to read that book unless you really, really want to. Last book you recommended to someone. So I recommended a book called Lockdown by Peter May to my boyfriend's brother last year, and he does want to read it, so he needs to holler at me to get that book off my hands. Quite an interesting thriller, written in 2005, inspired by bird flu and the bird flu pandemic that we had in 2005, but it is scarily very close to what we are going through right now. and more extreme. So if you want to avoid books about pandemics, don't read it. But Peter May predicted a lot of things. Yeah, it's creepy. One point of view or multiple point of views. Again, it depends on the book. It depends on the story. One of my favourite books is A Game of Thrones, which is a big, well, you should know what Game of Thrones is, but if you don't, firstly, where have you been? And secondly, it is a massive, epic fantasy that spans across the world in which the book is set in. And it has multiple points of views. It follows a big cast of characters. And I really like that. I do like multiple points of views if it serves the story. But generally I do prefer one point of view because sometimes it's easier to follow a story that way, but it does depend on the story. Right, we're nearly at the end of the questions now, guys. So, buying books or borrowing books? I really like buying books. I have a very bad addiction when it comes to buying books. I can impulse buy books forever. And if I didn't have a boyfriend to stop me, and if I didn't have a very low income right now because of furlough, I would probably be buying books every single day because there are so many books that I see and I'm just like, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that, and I can easily just add it to my basket. Yeah, but I'm trying to be a bit more careful with my money this year, obviously, because like I said, I'm on furlough. I don't know when I'm going to be back at work. I don't even know if I am going to have a job at the end of this because I work in hospitality and the industry is just really struggling right now. So if I'm made redundant, I won't be surprised, but hopefully not. But yeah, I have to be really careful with my money. So this year I am trying to borrow books more than buy books. But it is hard at the minute because my library is closed again because of lockdown. I can't use the Libby app because it keeps saying my library card is invalid, even though it's not, and I can't go to my library to sort that out. So yeah, I mean, I've managed to get a few free books on Kindle and Playbooks, which is helpful. And, you know, I've got friends who read, so I can borrow books from them if they trust me enough. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't need any more books at the minute. I've got too many books on my shelf that I need to read, so yeah. Newest book you've read by publication date. So that would be Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. That came out in January and I just read it and I really enjoyed it. Love triangles, yes or no? Again, it depends on the story and it depends on how well they're written. I generally hate love triangles, and I hate love triangles in young adult fantasy. Twilight made me hate love triangles. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. I don't read a lot of romance anyway, and the romance that I do read tends to be more like enemies to lovers, so I'm gonna go with no. Do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? Depends on the book. If I'm really enjoying the book, if it's a book that I just absolutely need to know what happens next, then I could read it in one sitting. Depends on the size of the book as well. Like, I tend to read books over 300 pages over a multiple amount of days. I don't know why I struggled to say that word. And yeah, it also depends what I'm doing that day. If I'm really busy, if I'm at work, obviously I'm not at work at the minute, but you know, if I'm at work, it just depends. But I've read books in one sitting before, and I've read books over multiple sittings. Again, I'm struggling. It's been a long day, guys. I need to go to bed anyway. Second to last question is, can you read while hearing music? If it's instrumental, maybe. I have been reading Black Girl Unlimited to piano music. I've had piano music on low in the background, and that's been quite a nice experience. But generally I struggle because my mind can't focus on two things at once. I'm not a very good multitasker, and so I tend to zone in on sounds. Also, I'm very sound sensitive. I have misophonia. There are a lot of sounds that really grate me, like elicit a very intense emotional response out of me, and I just can't be in the same room as those sounds sometimes. It's really bad. So if there's not like complete silence, if I can hear something while I'm trying to read, it really, really grates on me. It makes it very difficult for me to focus on my book. So it depends. I can't listen to music with lyrics when I'm reading. I generally just like to read in silence, but it depends on my mood and it depends what kind of music it is. Alright, so we're on the last question, and I labelled it 20 because it is the last question. This is the only one I labelled, and that is, who do you tag? So I am gonna tag a bunch of you down in the description box below. I might tag some of you on Twitter as well. I need to check who's done this video and who hasn't, because I have seen quite a few of these videos. So I will go and check, and then I will go and tag some of you. And I will leave the questions down there as well for you, so you can have a go yourself if you want to. If you're not tagged, don't worry, you can still do this video. There are no rules. It's all just a bit of fun. So that's the end of the questions. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this video wasn't too long, and I hope you enjoyed it all the same. If you did, then please feel free to leave a cheeky thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos from me in the future, and I will see you all in another video very soon. Bye guys.